If you've spent any time with public blockchains, you're familiar with the two big headaches, right? First, every single thing you do is out there for the whole world to see. And second, the cost of a transaction can be cheap one day and absolutely sky high the next. So, what if you could design a system from the ground up to fix that, to offer both privacy and predictability? Well, today we're going to dive into how the Midnight Protocol is being engineered to do just that. On one hand, you've got the first wave of blockchains. They were all about radical transparency, which sounds cool, but it means all your data is just exposed. And the wild swings in token prices create a ton of economic uncertainty. But on the other hand, what if we aimed for something different? What if the goals were real data privacy for sensitive info and operational costs you can actually predict, so businesses and regular users know what they're getting into? This is the exact problem that Midnight is setting out to solve. So how in the world does Midnight plan to tackle these huge challenges? Well, its entire economic model is built on a really fresh approach, and it's all guided by 4 core principles, or pillars. Let's take a quick look at what they are. Okay, these are the big 4. First up, operational predictability, because nobody wants to deal with insane, volatile fees. Second, we have rational privacy, which is all about protecting your data while still making it possible to be compliant when needed. Third is cooperative tokenomics, which means it's designed to play nice with other chains, not fight them. And finally, fair by design, which is about getting the whole community involved from the very beginning. Now, to make all of this work, Midnight introduces a pretty unique 2-part system. The first piece of the puzzle is the Night token. This is the main utility token for the network, the core asset that really holds the entire ecosystem together. And here's its partner, something called Dust. Now, Dust is different. It's not a token you can just go and trade on an exchange. Think of it more as a special, shielded resource. Shielded means it's private, and it's what you use to pay for everything you do on the network. And how these two things, Night and Dust, work together, well, that's where things get really innovative. All right, so let's get to know the Night token a little better, because if you can really get your head around its properties, you'll see exactly how this new kind of economic engine actually works. First things first, and this is super important, the total supply of Night is fixed, capped at 24 billion. That's it. No more will ever be created, period. This gives the whole economy a clear and finite foundation to build on. So the Night token has a few key characteristics. It's transferable, you can send it and receive it like any other token. It's multi-chain, meaning it's native to both the Cardano and Midnight networks. It's also unshielded, so its own movements are public, which helps with transparency. But here is the absolute game changer, the most crucial part. It is non-expendable for transactions. Get this, you don't actually spend it to use the network. Of course, any ecosystem needs its key players to function. So you've got your block producers who are securing the network. You have the token holders who will eventually get to participate in governance. There's a foundation to help steer development, a treasury to fund growth and new ideas, and a reserve that takes care of block rewards. The whole crew. Okay, now we get to what is, honestly, the most innovative part of Midnight's design. It's all about how it separates the asset you hold from the resource you use. And the best way to understand this is with a pretty cool analogy. Just think about that question for a second. It kind of challenges everything we think we know about blockchain fees. How is it even possible to use a network to run transactions without watching your token balance go down? It sounds almost too good to be true, right? Well, here's how they do it. It's a simple process. First, you just hold Night tokens. Think of your Night tokens as your own personal power plant. Then you designate a Dust address. This is like hooking up your power plant to a big battery. What happens next? Your power plant automatically starts generating Dust, constantly filling that battery with energy. Then you use that energy, that Dust, to pay for all your network activity. And here's the magic part. Your power plant, your Night tokens, are never spent. They just sit there untouched and keep on generating. This analogy just nails it, doesn't it? Night is the permanent capital asset. It's the power plant. And Dust is the electrical energy it creates. It's a consumable, renewable resource. So by owning the asset, you get continuous access to the resource. And that's the absolute key to making operational costs predictable. But Night isn't just a one-trick pony. Its job doesn't end with just generating Dust. It's actually designed to be the core piece of a much larger, interconnected ecosystem. Remember I mentioned it's native to 2 chains, Cardano and Midnight? Well, to make sure you can't spend the same token twice, it can only be unlocked and usable on one chain at a time. A special software protocol acts like a security guard, making sure that if a token is locked on Cardano, it can be unlocked on midnight, and vice versa, but never, ever on both at once. This whole mechanism is absolutely critical to guarantee that the total supply of 24 billion Night tokens is always secure. And looking ahead, Night is planned to do even more. It's going to be the engine that powers a decentralized governance system, which lets the community actually vote on the future of the protocol. It'll also fund the treasury for ecosystem growth and provide the incentives for the block producers, keeping the whole thing secure. So at the end of the day, the most crucial point is this. Midnight's tokenomics creates a clean break between the asset that holds value and utility, which is Night, and the resource you actually use for transactions, which is Dust. You own the asset to get access to the resource. And that's a fundamental shift from the single token models that we're all so used to. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. By decoupling the network's core value asset from the actual day-to-day cost of using it, could this model be the key that finally unlocks the door to blockchains that are both truly private and economically predictable enough for everyone to use? It's definitely something to think about.